All right, good evening. We're going to get started. Would all the candidates for village trustee and presidents please come and find a seat up front here, or in the back, I guess you would say.
Here, I'll take it. I know. Thanks, so.
Details. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Waunakee Meet and Greet Candidate Forum, co-hosted by the Waunakee Chamber of Commerce and the Tribune Enterprise, new name for our local newspaper. My name is Ellen Schaff, and I'm from the Waunakee Chamber, and this is Roberta Bauman from the Tribune Enterprise, and we're glad to be co-hosting this event once again. We do this every year. I think we've done it for the last 8-10 years. So we're excited to have you here and to come together to hear from the candidates for the position of village trustees and the village president. This forum is a space for open and respectful discussions about the candidates and topics that matter to our community. All candidates running for the offices were invited to attend. We have asked the candidates to stay after the formal part of the evening for a minimum of 20 minutes. We do have to be out of the senior center by 8 p.m. sharp. So we encourage yourself to stay and to ask any questions specifically to the candidates if you wish. And once again, we need to end promptly at 8 p.m. Candidates were given the rules and guidelines for tonight, as well as potential questions that they may have to answer. We'll begin by drawing numbers for order, and then we'll start with each candidate will have a 10-minute presentation, more or less, sharing what they want to share as to who they are and why they're running for office. Roberta will be the official timekeeper, and just to keep things on track, and she'll let them know when there's 30 seconds left and when to stop. Just some housekeeping details. Restrooms are out the door where you came in, straight across the way. Please remember to shut your, right there too. Oh, thank you, or right around the court. Thank you. Also, remember to please shut your cell phones off. Also tonight, we are videotaping this forum, and we will be editing that tomorrow, and we will send that to the candidates, as well as the newspaper and the chamber will be sharing it through our social media outlets as well. Remember that the spring election is Tuesday, April 1st, and thanks again for taking the time to be here. And with that, let's get started. We're first going to draw the numbers. Three, max.
Four.
Do you guys want to draw, or do you want to just say, I'll go first, or?
You go first.
You go first. Here, you draw, so then we'll know what the other person does.
Okay. You're going first.
Okay, all right. So we got that done. All right, sounds good. Okay, so we're gonna start with the candidates for the village trustees, and the first candidate to speak will be
Me.
Mr. Sam Kaufman.
You want me to come up here?
Whatever you want.
Yeah, or you can bring me the mic. I can sit here. Whatever you'd like to do.
It's your choice.
All right, I'll come up here.
All right. There you go.
I don't have to take the whole sentence if I don't want to.
No.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Sam Kaufman. The trustee candidates here are 4 fine candidates. I'm the only incumbent that's running again. I've been on the village board for 4 years. I really enjoy serving. A little bit about my background. Obviously, I went to Waunakee Community High School. Go Warriors. I graduated in 2021, and I actually ran for the board before I graduated. I'm going to be completing my undergraduate education at UW-Madison in the spring, and then next spring I will be completing my master's degree in public affairs, which is basically public administration, also at UW-Madison through an accelerated graduate program. Some of the things that I'd like to do in my next term, obviously a big issue that you're going to hear about tonight is the comprehensive plan. Comprehensive plans we're required by the state to update those every 10 years. We're going to need to update that again. Obviously, that's several hundred pages in length. It's about a 12 to 18 month process. We've already hired the consultant to do that, and I'd really like to provide my input to help drive that plan into the next decade of growth here in Waunakee. One of the things that we've also recently done is we've applied for an ArcGIS license, finally. For those of you that don't know what that is, GIS is a big thing that's used now so we can have all our information available digitally, both for our planning purposes, utilities, parks, all kinds of different things, and also make that information available so you, the public, developers, etc., is able to access that information. So we're getting started on building that. I really hope over the next 2 years we can see where that leads us with the positions that we have created at the Village Hall. I would also say in general, just making sure that we're keeping up with our personnel as we grow, make sure that growth follows our staffing needs so that we're not growing too fast so our staff can't keep up, and we're also giving our departments, Public Works, any sort of department, the tools that they need to continue to provide the high quality service that our residents here have come to expect. So again, thank you everybody for attending tonight. I also have business cards for afterward if you'd like more of those. So thank you.
Hello, I'm Chris Zellner. I'm a lifelong resident of Waunakee, so 55 years this year. So, and I made it through 54. Some of you might be wondering what that means. I had a quadruple bypass surgery, and there was part reasons why I had to leave the board with some health concerns previously. Through that now, and excited to be back and running for village board. A little bit about myself. I was village president for 8 years, 7 as a trustee before that. And I believe that my first year as president, Waunakee got the distinguished award of being a top place to raise a family in the country, which is pretty cool. I've always believed in Waunakee from, as Sam said, he graduated from high school. I graduated from high school here too. And it's about excellence and creating a community that's for all, but one that's always striving to be better. And I think that's a key point for all of the board members, and I think they all believe that. They're great candidates, and no matter what happens, we're gonna do some really good work out into the future here. Some priorities of mine, as we've gone through the last couple of years, I've seen Main Street is very difficult, and it's something that we need to address. I think that's a key zone within our community. We spent a lot of money to revitalize that, and in the near future, we're gonna probably be having 4 lanes come through Waunakee. The state of Wisconsin made it very clear that they were going to be doing that the next time they came through. With that, we will have elimination of parking on Main Street. In the event that happens, that's going to be a challenge for our business community downtown. And I will look to work with the board and some of the business owners in the downtown to hopefully create a property that we have a parking ramp and something that we may have a tunnel under the road. So we got to look at a lot of different options to make sure that we have a community that's able to move in that zone. Because right now, it's getting to a point where that's difficult. Which brings me to growth. One of the things that Waunakee's been, I pride on, is that we've had a consistent growth for the last 20 years of about 90 residential units. That has worked very well for the village budget. It's also worked very well for the school budgets and how those go. So to me, making sure we stay consistent with that, but not growing too fast. We don't have land that's necessary to do things that other communities have. People point to, we need more grocery stores, we need more restaurants, we need more of those type items. It's very difficult in our community to do that because the land necessary to do those it's just not accessible, the amount of space it takes. And we're going to be working with Westport. The board, I'm sure, is already doing that with their announcement that they may be becoming a village too. They're going through that process, and good for them, good for Waunakee. We'll work together to make sure we have a great situation for both communities. We'll still continue to be partners. We've been partners for a long time, and we've had great relationships. Things change, that's okay. We'll make those adaptations and work together. As far as me and what is going on in my life, I get to be a grandpa in about a month and a half. That's my first, so I'm pretty excited about that. What's more exciting is my daughter is 2 blocks away from me. I bought a house and lives here in Waunakee. That's something that's very difficult, though, for people her age. It's something that we kind of try to have to address and get done in a pretty quick fashion. Housing in West Waunakee has been expensive. I've been in many places around the country, and one common thread is if you're near a university or a state capital and you have a top-rated school district, your place is going to be expensive and it's going to be in demand. That is what Waunakee is. And so the housing is challenging as a result of that, along with space to put that housing. So those are some of the key points that I'm going to be emphasizing, along with, as Sam mentioned, the comprehensive plan. It's the most important thing that we have as a document to guide us over the next 10 years, which is why they have us do it every 10 years, because things change. Every community changes. So thank you for all being here tonight. Thank you to Roberta and Ellen for hosting the event, having the candidates have an opportunity to talk about these different issues, and we'll expand on all of them as we go through, I'm sure. So thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Max Udak. It's the only Waunakee in the world, and I'm actually the only Max Udak in the world, so it's 7 of us in the United States. How the heck did I get here? So I grew up in South Bend, Indiana, Rust Belt, Midwest, ended up attending the University of Notre Dame. Was in the marching band there, graduated from the Mendoza School of Business. Actually got set up on a blind date with somebody in marching band. That blind date ended up being my wife. Found out that it was only a blind date for me. She has to be set up with me. But prior to meeting my wife, honestly, I'd never had a thought about the state of Wisconsin before. I grew up in Indiana. I was dead set on staying there. And she graduated a semester before I did. And I said, what the heck? Just follow her. And moved up to Wisconsin, started working in industrial automation. And I toured the state relentlessly, hitting the road 1,000 miles a week. I can honestly say since I moved here, I've been to over 80% of Wisconsin's counties, almost 300 factories in the state of Wisconsin. I'm well versed in the businesses here. It's businesses here in Waunakee that I've worked with over my time. Well, my last job, I ended up moving here in Waunakee in 21. Had a pretty good market and got a house as a fixer-upper. Ended up looking for something to do, so I ended up joining the fire department. And it's been a great time, and I've honestly been on there for 3 to 4 years, and it's I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. I was just looking for something to do, and I found a lifelong passion. And working on the fire department, I had a couple co-workers that, now co-workers, a couple co-firefighters that were working at Endress Manufacturing. I knew it was a good place to work, and I always said if a job opened up there, I'd take a stab at it, because I knew they were good firefighters, and it was 2 minutes from my house. And I also joined Rotary, and I'm actually the youngest member of the Waunakee Rotary Club. So I had known Ken through that, and the rest is history. So I took a job at Endress Manufacturing, and I've been there for almost 3 years now. Since then, things have kind of taken off. I've gotten extremely involved with the fire department, everything from revising bylaws, getting things up to date, trying to make us a modernized fire department. I don't want to be a single issue candidate. I obviously care about quite a few different things, but it's the front of everybody's mind right now. My biggest concern is with the withdrawal from the fire district. Obviously, we steamrolled that. We own 71% of the assets, and that's 71% of each asset of the district. And it's going to be a complicated mess. I'm a certified driver-operator in the state of Wisconsin. I've driven almost every single truck in that building. And I can tell you right now, it's going to be a mess when we have to divvy up the trucks when we pull out. If we continue to partner with Westport, there's parts of Westport that don't have hydrants. That requires us to have a tender. A tender is a 2,000-gallon truck that we basically dump water out of into a portable tank, and that's how we fight fire on a house without a hydrant. We draft from the tank and send it out through the engine. We get 71% of the apparatus. The tenders are likely the first to go, likely 2 to 3 years to replace a tender, and we're calling for mutual aid every time we have to service Westport. Probably the only person up here that knows what any of that equipment does, and I would like to be a part of that discussion and divvying up the equipment as we proceed forward with the new fire department, whatever that may look like. Moving on to other things, so transparency. Sam actually mentioned ArcGIS, so I actually had an internship with the city of South Bend. It was with Mayor Pete Buttigieg's administration. He ended up being the Secretary of Transportation of the United States. But it was in the Department of Innovation and Technology. And one of the big things we did was the Open Data Portal 2.0. And that was exactly what he was referring to, a data portal for 105,000 residents. And it had everything from Wi-Fi speeds of your local block to live crime maps updated every week. Utility poles, there's a light out, you can actually get the pole number and see where every single pole in town is. All of that data is available, and having the ArcGIS license is a huge part of that. It was myself and one other intern that actually built the entire framework for that entire platform. That's something I would like to implement in Waunakee. I think there's a lack of communication between the village and the residents, and that is the perfect median to bridge the gap. And then smart streets. So while working for the city of South Bend, one of the most influential parts of my time there was a program called Smart Streets. And in downtown South Bend, we had a bunch of 4-lane one-ways through the town. And I literally watched my downtown die growing up. Stores empty, nobody there. Traffic, the line that I always like to use is downtown is a destination and it's not a thoroughfare. And I cannot stress enough that if downtown Waunakee becomes 4 lanes, it's dead, it's over. It needs to be walkable, and there's ways to do that with technology, easing traffic, and all of that has to do with controlling lights, working with the state up the road. You can do dynamic timing systems. There are so many things that you can do from a technology perspective that people don't actually see when they're interacting with the road. So that the roundabout moves through more efficient. When I did my candidate orientation, we actually brought up when's the last time we did a traffic study for Main Street, and the answer was I don't know. So that would be my #1 first priority, is doing a full-blown traffic study of Main Street, because when the state does come knocking and we do need to expand 19, it's important to actually know what we're talking about. But yeah, like I said, I'm all in on Waunakee, moved here in 21, and I'm here to stay forever. But thank you.
Last but not least, I'd like to start out thanking Ellen from the Chamber and Roberta from the Waunakee Tribune. I'm sure I screwed up the name, but thanks for sponsoring this event. And I know, these events, to pull them off, take time, effort, and organization. So thanks a lot for pulling this all together. Tonight I'm here as a board candidate for the village trustee. I also wanted to let you know that I'm running for another term on the school board. Both elections are April 1st. The first question I get when I'm talking to these people about running for these 2 positions is why? Well, in school, I love education, and I want to continue to help Waunakee be as good as it can be. When I ask people, why do you move to Waunakee? The first response, overwhelming response, is because of the school system. Why the trustee? I want to help shape the future of Waunakee. I moved to Waunakee in '07 with my wife and 4 daughters who graduated from the Waunakee High School. And it's been a great move, it's been a great experience, met a lot of great people. One of the things, we moved here in '07 from Oshkosh, but our roots go back longer than that. My wife's grandmother in 1912 was the valedictorian of Waunakee High School. So she's a part of the Zander family. I'm sure some of you know Zander people. So the second question that I get, do you have time to do both of these positions? And my response is, I'm retired. I recently retired, so I think I've got the energy, and I love public service, and I want to give back to our community. My background, I'm a mechanical engineer, graduated from UW-Madison, and later pursued an MBA. I've worked for Fortune 500 companies, traveled to 41 different companies for the companies I work for, and I've also run and managed early stage companies, growing employment. I've held a number of management positions with budget and P&L responsibility. Over my career, I've worked in and around government, on the local, state, and federal level. So I have a pretty good understanding of the inner workings of government. I've proudly served on the Waunakee School Board for providing visionary and common sense leadership for the past 13 years. Excuse me. I've served on the Budget Committee for most of my board tenure, and I'm currently serving as the board treasurer. In this position, I've been a champion of keeping the mill rate at a consistent level. And if you look at some of our documents, you can see that we've held that in a range. So I like to be a good steward of taxpayer money, challenging leadership on why are we doing that? If we're spending this type of money, what are the metrics that we can expect to achieve out of that? Several highlights with my tenure on the school board. I championed the idea of putting a wellness clinic into the district for our employees. What did that do for us? We've kept our insurance spend per employee at 1% per year over the last 10 years. So it's one of the tools that we put in there. I also championed the idea that we needed a innovation center, which is in our tech ed department. And one of the things that we did with the innovation center was we wanted to train our kids for the trades, so that we can supply our students to the trades. And I'm proud to say that that our students are now getting paid internships in electrical, in plumbing, in building, in the trades coming out of our innovation center. I also led the effort to raise $250,000 so that we could build out that workspace without putting on the taxpayer. And we've developed one of the best fab labs in the state of Wisconsin. These are two of the visionary leadership concepts that I've provided on the school board, and I look forward to providing that visionary type of leadership as a village trustee. I take a common sense customer approach to being a good steward of taxpayer dollars, because if our taxes are too high, it's going to affect bringing new people into the community, and people have choices. And to accomplish this goal, I make a strong effort to listen and understand the needs of the community. As with Dane County, Waunakee will continue to grow. A plan that provides balanced growth will be explored. And as we talked about, the comprehensive plan is coming up, and that's a guiding mission that we go through. We need good transportation networks, both north and south, east and west. And the current north-south corridor is Highway Q, and I think it needs to stay. If we don't have good transportation networks, making it more difficult to get people in and out of the community, it's going to be tough for people to get to their jobs, or just our commuters going to different areas. It's going to be a challenge. East-west corridor, we've talked about that. Highway 19. We need to support our businesses. If the state does come in and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, we're going to change it to 4 lanes, we need to have a plan on how do we keep those businesses vibrant. Everybody says we need another grocery store, which I don't necessarily disagree with, but the challenges and the hurdle that we've got is Hy-Vee owns the land. And as a business person, if I was making a decision to go in to a community I'm looking at what the competitive forces might be. So, that's a hurdle that we need to overcome. We need to keep a pulse on the industry that we have. We need to make sure that the policies that we're putting in place, are good for the industry so that they can that they can stay and grow in our community. It looks like, from what I read on social media and so forth, we need more restaurants. Well, if we need more restaurants, we need to support those, so that they don't go. But I think a better plan is how do we get more businesses like Renew Air to settle into our industrial parks, because those are long-term decisions. Those are decisions where those companies are going to be here for a very long time. And we need light manufacturing and things like that in our business community. And as we look at subdivisions, one of the things that been doing some reading on is just the missing middle. What we're doing is we're building a lot of residential, which is great. And the residential that's been going up, the subdivisions are beautiful. We're putting up multifamily, but what about how do we create that, duplex or fourplexes, and is that something that the community wants? Do we want to explore that, giving us more density so that it can be? So I'm getting pulled off the stage. I see I've only got 30 seconds, but in closing, I ask for your support, and I'm going to provide the visionary, common sense leadership that I provided on the school board to the village trustee. Vote Hyman on April 1st.
Are there questions first, or?
No, we're going to have you guys do,
Okay.
and then we'll.
Okay.
Okay.
You picked number 2.
I
so
picked number 2, and I go number 1.
All right.
Sorry.
That's all right. That's right. Hi, I'm Kristen Runge. I'm currently serving as village president. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to serve the community. And I want to thank you, Roberta, and thank you, Ellen, for having the forum tonight. Can you hear me okay? I heard someone okay. So I will stand a little closer to the microphone. So I want to start off by introducing myself to you. I've been a resident of Waunakee since 2009. I grew up next door in Sauk Prairie, and we lived up north in Neenah for a while before moving back to the area. We chose Waunakee for many of the reasons that you all chose Waunakee. Great schools, a great location, a wonderful community that has maintained its small town feel, and it has been a wonderful choice and a wonderful place to live. So a little bit about myself professionally. I serve as the program manager for the Community Economic Development Program for UW Extension. And in that role, I have a team that I manage across the state that works on issues such as broadband, infrastructure development, housing, and other issues that we need to maintain vibrant, livable communities in the state. So you've been in 80% of the state. I've worked in about 50% of the state now. And when I work with communities, I don't work with companies directly. I work at the community level with municipal governments and with community groups to help them realize their vision of their own community and take control and have some agency in how their community develops. That's very much the approach I take as president of the village. Educationally, I'm a graduate of UW-Madison and UW-Stevens Point, so a hometown girl or a home state girl in that sense as well. I've served as president. This is my first term. Prior to that, I served as trustee for an 18-month term. I picked up when Sue Springman left the board. I took some time off in between serving as trustee and president to take care of my parents who are aging and doing well right now, but needed some help for a while. During my time with the village, local government in every sense of the word is a team sport. So when I talk about what we've accomplished, I as president and the trustees have had over the last several years what I consider to be a pretty good run and a pretty successful term. Some challenges to be sure and some issues that we're hoping to address in the future, but a pretty successful term. Over the last year, we permitted 122 new single-family homes, so that steady increase that we've seen in homes and we aim for as a Board of Trustees has accelerated a little bit. That's great for our tax base. When we add new homes, it manages to keep the rest of our taxes low. So increasing our tax base over the long term is one of the things that I think we should be focusing on. I've worked with developers in the school district to ensure that we have that continued growth in addition to helping keep our taxes low when we add that new tax base, that steady stream of students to the school district keeps their enrollment numbers high and helps the school districts keep their increase in taxes manageable year after year. In addition to that, we've really seen a growth in property values. That's great if you own a home. Our median value of a home right now is about $490,000. That's great if you own a home, but if you are a young person looking to get into the community or a new resident moving to the area, that could be a pretty daunting number. So we've been having a lot of discussions over the last couple of years with what does it look like to make housing accessible for younger members of the workforce? What does it look like to make housing accessible for folks that are willing to downsize or interested in downsizing? We've diversified our housing stock to that end. We were at about 75% single family, 25% multifamily homes right now. We have worked with village staff to modernize our benefits package so that we're competitive in the marketplace. We have fostered business development and entrepreneurship growth through what I consider to be fairly cautious use of TID, tax increment district financing. And I understand that for a lot of people is a tool that we have that's controversial, so we're very careful in listening to residents when we're bringing forward TID or TIP projects to make sure that we're balancing our need for growth and entrepreneurship with resident concerns over diversifying our tax base. We've pursued a policy of extending TID 1 year after they close in order to provide some funding for affordable housing development, and over the course of the last year we launched the Waunakee Housing Betterment Fund that has given us $75,000 to date in grants to homes and homeowners that are eligible for those funds. So we've had a lot of really great success over the last year, and I just want to credit both the trustees and the public for supporting those successes that we've had. If I'm reelected, what I hope to do is accomplish continued growth. We need to continue to grow our economic base. We need to continue to grow our residential housing growth in order to keep our property taxes low and offer new opportunities for others that are looking to enter the community. The comprehensive plan that several of us have talked about is probably one of the most exciting things that we'll have going on over the next couple of years. I personally am really looking forward to the public engagement. The comprehensive plan process is one of the times where the community really gets to come out and have a strong say in not just what is happening within the next year or two or their government decisions that are going on at the moment, but over the long haul, what does the community look like? And so I'm hoping that those of you that are here tonight will also participate in that process. And one of the things that we need to continue working to achieve is a sense of belonging for all of our residents. The notion that your community supports you, that your dreams matter, that your family's hopes and futures are important to those that are in leadership as well as your neighbors and your friends. It's one of the things that we've been trying to foster over the last few years, and I hope that we continue to do that. Collaborating with our neighboring communities is something that also I'm pledging to do. Over the last year, we've been working with Westport, and I see Dean and John in the back, over their work to become incorporated as a village. We've had some excellent conversations. One of the things that we keep touching base on every time we're having a conversation is that our relationships as a community, a village, and a town, but a village and a village, predates any of us, and if we work together properly, will last long into the future, and generations into the future. It's less in some ways about what I promise to do or what I hope to achieve as president, and more about how I serve the community. I promise that I will listen to all residents. I promise that you'll have a voice and a seat at the table in how the government is run. I promise that I'll always work towards consensus decisions so that we're putting the best interest of our community at heart and arriving at what that means to us collectively. I promise that we'll have a shared vision of our community together. And I promise to have careful consideration of all of our residents and stakeholders as we approach different decisions that we'll be making over the next 2 years. So I want to thank you again for the opportunity to serve. Thank you for being here tonight to listen. And please stay after and talk with us tonight after we're done with our questions. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. Hopefully everybody's still nice and awake after we've had everybody up here. I do want to start, of course, the obligatory. I want to thank the Tribune, the Enterprise, and the Chamber for hosting this event. Many of you who have seen me up here on this stage a few times know I'm no stranger to coming to this event. I also want to thank the trustee candidates for running. I know that it is not easy to put together a campaign, especially if you have family concerns and things that are going on. It takes a lot of time out of the day. And I want to thank President Runge. Something she said there that's very important. Anything that I talk about tonight is definitely the collective we from the village and what we accomplished. It's not necessarily what an individual candidate has accomplished. So about myself, I am Robert McPherson. I am a current trustee of the Village of Waunakee. I was elected 2 years ago. And I am a now 11-year resident of the village. I'm originally from more farm and rural area in Maryland before I moved out to Wisconsin due to professional reasons. So I am raising my child here. There's a reason that we picked Waunakee. She is now 8 and very active in hockey, which is where I came from right before this event, so I didn't get to see her finish on the ice. But we have embraced living within the village, embraced engaging the community and really trying to make this our home and give a sense of belonging to our family. And really that's what we want, what I would like to see for everybody else in the village is that everybody that comes in the village should have that same experience. It should be positive for them. And we can't get to there without talking about some of the things that we did accomplish as a village. So, you hear a lot tonight about people talking about housing. We've been talking about housing for years. There was a housing study that we started in 2018, and I sat on that committee along with 23 other members of the community. And we have not accomplished much from that list that we had put together from that list. But one item that we did accomplish in the past 2 years, we did make it so that you could have an accessory dwelling unit or a granny flat, as some people call them, or if you want to go even further back, that thing above the garage that the Fonz lived in, that's what we got passed with in the past year. And that was something that was a big push because it's something that somebody can do by right. They don't need to go hire a lawyer and get everybody in front of the Plan Commission. If their house can support it, they can have it at their house. And that goes just one step further to allowing people to have aging in place in their house so that if you do want to stay in the village and you want your kids to live with your kids, you can move into that ADU and your kids can have a house. Second item that we accomplished, and I'm going to just eat the elephant on this one. We've done work to modernize our agreements for emergency services. So when I was placed on the EMS committee from the village, I was given a task to look at the committee document, which had not been touched since the 70s, and do updates on it. There were things that made sense to get rid of from that agreement, but it wasn't an easy task. As soon as the village asked to make changes to the agreement, the village got more or less beat up on every side from the other towns because they assumed that we had an ill intent. And that really showed me that that's where we had decayed to in our relationship with the other communities that we share EMS and fire services with. But you know what? We got together, we made changes to it, everybody agreed to it, and we got it passed, and we moved on, and now we have an updated agreement for the first time in over 50 years. Fire department, not as simple. Fire department was a tough decision. That was also assigned to myself, and she's in the audience, but Trustee Fry, who also serves on there with me. We worked for 2 years straight to try to make changes to that agreement and to do things that are more favorable to the village, just because the village pays so much into it. We had no control over what was going on there. The 3 other members could vote every time to say this is what the village is going to do with their money. And we spent a lot of money over there, almost $1 million a year in our budget. So unfortunately, we came to the point where we said the best way forward for the village, not the easiest way, but the best way is to make the tough choice to withdraw. So you're going to hear a lot from some of the other trustees that say that we did this without effort, that we did this without thought. We did not do this without thought. We did it after careful consideration, exhausting every possible solution. It was the only solution that was left to us. Another item that I would really like to talk about that is less serious than the other items, we can now have chickens within the village. This is something that had been asked for years. And you know how that resolution and how that ordinance came about? Residents reached out to us and I listened. I can't have a chicken in my house. I'm pretty sure that my HOA doesn't allow it. But there was a demand for it, and they needed somebody that would go out and write an ordinance for it. I sat down, it was a nice summer day, I sat down and spent 5 hours writing an ordinance that went back and forth with the attorney. Eventually we got something before the village board that got passed, and now people can have chickens with a simple license. And I hear it's pretty good with the price of eggs today, that for the people that didn't get in early on the chickens. Another item that is one of those things that was unexpected, that was not intended, was the Child Care Assistance Fund that we set up over the past year. We, as trustees, we are often invited to different events within the village, and one of the events that we were invited to was about the failure of the child care system and how it's a failed market. That was done at Art House Preschool earlier this year. I'm sorry, it's now 25. Earlier in 2024. And when we sat with them, we asked them, how can we help you? And they said one thing: we need money. It wasn't you could change policy or you could do anything different. It was we need money. And so we said, all right, how do we get money? And then we listened. And State Senator Diane Hesselman at the time said, well, you guys have ARPA funds available. Can't use the ARPA funds. They're going to expire if you don't use them otherwise. So we managed to set aside $85,000 to help child care within the village, which is a critical function within the village. I'm sure that everybody here at some point has had to rely on child care of some sort. And we helped them by matching the same funds that they would get at the state level through the child care accounts program. We were able to pay every participating group 2 months worth of it, and it did not cost taxpayers anything additional within the village for us to do that. So let's talk a bit also about taxes. I too like to keep taxes low. That's why when the opportunity presented itself, I went with the League of Wisconsin Municipalities, and I went down to Madison, and I advocated with our state electeds, so our assembly member and our state senator, and as a result, they did pass that act, and now the village is able to take in extra income. I believe it's just under $300,000 in additional income. I think that's $300,000 that we do not need to tax to citizens to have services within the village that we have extended the life of needing to raise taxes. Another item to touch upon, again, could not accomplish without being elected and having a different voice than what's on the board. It comes down to tax incremental financing in the tax districts. So you may have heard comments about Highway Q. When we originally were discussing the TID for Highway Q, we were going to pass it, and we were not really considering the fact that children would have to cross that road. And thankfully, because of the way that we were comprised that night on the board, it was a 3-3 vote, so it didn't pass as originally planned. I didn't just vote no on the TID and say, I don't want to see development in that area and I don't want to give out TID money. That's not at all what happened. I picked up the phone and I called the school district the next day and I said, let's have a meeting about this to find out what does the school district need to have happen at that intersection to make it safer. Because if you don't know, that is one of the most dangerous intersections at Peaceful Valley. I'm sorry, not Peaceful Valley, that's further south. At Woodland and Highway Q. That's a very dangerous intersection. And we worked with them to get a study done so that we could see that there are valid changes that can be made to Q that will improve road safety for our kids crossing the road to go to the new schools, and B, would not impact traffic in a way that would slow things down. That goes to show that you don't always have to accept things at face value when you're looking at growth. You can question it a bit, and that's what I do. I question things to get the best outcome for the village. What I would bring in my term, well, if you remember from my first term, I ran on something very strongly, and it's a second grocery store. That has not changed. Village president has a bit more access to being able to talk with developers, to being able to talk with the businesses that want to do business with the village. I would make it a priority that we continue to do that. Whether it's going to Hy-Vee and more or less seeing if we can somehow get them to sell their land so that a second grocery store can come into the village, or it's actually going and working with somebody else. There are other grocers that are interested in working at the village and working out a deal with them to get them to come to the village. That would be something that I would actively work for because it's something that can impact people immediately. Second, I would continue growth the way that we are doing it. I believe our growth is working at the rate that it needs to, but I would take a different approach to growth. I wouldn't look at developing necessarily saying that the only answer to growth is to develop land, to develop those farmlands that surround the village that everybody appreciates. I'm more of a favor of incremental growth. This would be looking at our zoning code as we go through our comprehensive plan and seeing how we can allow people by right to move up their home, say from a single family to a duplex or a duplex to a triplex. So we're not talking about radically altering neighborhoods and dropping in apartment complexes and things like that. We're talking about allowing people to take the next step up in those neighborhoods if they wish to, and having the ability to increase this, the density of their housing. Thank you. So with that in mind, much like President Runge has stated, I believe that I could stand up here and promise things to you, but I think that really showing you through actions and what has been done what I did within my term. I would continue to carry that on as village president. I would bring in different voices than maybe what we've had in there today, maybe some unexpected voices so we could get some different perspectives, so maybe we're not having so much of a group think. And I think that I would see that we would continue to move forward as a village and know where we want to be in the future. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the 10-minute presentation.